Tonight on Penguins postgame, the Pittsburgh Penguins get back into the win column and kick off a 4-game road trip in Seattle. How did they do? Plus, what's going on the baby side of the Penguins? We'll check in on Wilkes-Barre and recap Pens and the Kraken all right now on Penguins postgame. Stick with us. It's time to unleash the Kraken. Let's get rolling. Welcome to Sports for Beginners. This is the show where I cover the Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Blue Jays, and take you on a journey through the world of sports. From the fans' perspective, here is your host, Scott McGregor. Let's have some fun. Good evening, Penguins fans. Good evening, Kraken hockey fans. I'm your host, Scott McGregor, for the program. Welcome in, Penguins fans. How's it going, Pens fans? How's it going, Kraken fans? What a hockey game that was. Head coaches are Lane Lambert and Dan Muse, and we're going to get to the goaltending matchup in just a moment. But first, it is Martin Luther King Day as we record this, the night of the hockey game, which was Monday, January 19th, 2026. So happy Martin Luther King Day to all who celebrate. Tonight's game started at 5 p.m. Eastern. 9 minutes after 2 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Mountain, 10 p.m. in the UK, and 11 p.m. in France and Sweden. You're going to find out over the course of the show how far each timeline went as we go through this hockey game. But first, before we visit our officiating crew and get you a look at where the records were coming in to this game, it's time to go between the pipes. Starting off with the hometown Seattle Kraken, head coached by Lane Lambert at the time of this game tonight. They will go with Joey Decord, who will be getting the start against the Penguins tonight, wearing the number 35. In at backup, if needed, is Philip Grubauer. Philip Grubauer is wearing the number 31. And there was also an official in this game tonight wearing the number 31. But we'll talk about that in just a moment. Let's go to Dan Muse and the Pittsburgh Penguins side of things, where we find number 37, Artur Shilov, on the bench. And between the pipes tonight, number 74, Stuart Skinner. So it's the battle of Joey Decord versus Stuart Skinner from Climate Pledge Arena, which, by the way, as we record here, just a couple of minutes after the game has gone final, it was in front of an attendance record of 17,151 fans at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington. Stats for this game coming up a little bit later, but with the attendance record, game start time, coaching out of the way, let's go to our officiators. Before we do, let's take you back to what the records were versus what they currently are at the end of this game. Going into the game, the Seattle Kraken and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins came into this game coming off a shootout loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets, which we'll talk about later in the show, but that is one key thing to note. And their current record at game time against Seattle was 22, 14, and 11. Seattle's record, 21, 17, and 9 heading into this showdown. For the Seattle Kraken, they come in fresh off of a 6 to the Utah Mammoth on Saturday. So both Pittsburgh and Seattle coming off of losses going into this clash today on Martin Luther King night. And we're going to find out later in our show where both teams are headed after this game, that is. But we'll find out about that later in the show. All right, so the records were 22, 14, and 11 for Pittsburgh and for Seattle, 21, 17, and 9. Seattle won the opener of this two-game set between Pittsburgh and Seattle back on November 22nd, 2025, in Pittsburgh by a final score of 3-2 in overtime to lead the season series for 1-0. Tonight, the Penguins get even with the Kraken, beating the Kraken 6-3 in regulation. Tonight from Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle, Washington. One quick thing before we go to our first break, because we will break down the game in the second segment of our show, from first period to the third period. The officiating crew for this contest between Seattle and Pittsburgh consisted of the following referees wearing the following numbers. The referees wearing the numbers 31 and 34 were Michael Markovic, and number 34 being worn by Brandon Schrader. We call them in the women's game linesperson. In the men's game, they're called linesmen. And the linesman for this game, wearing the number 79, was, and I apologize if I pronounced these names wrong, Murchison. Sorry about that if I'm pronouncing the name wrong. And number 92 being worn by Mark Schweck. I'm going to go with Mark S. and KM for the linesman. So sorry about that if I pronounced that wrong. Out for this game before we go to break. For the Kraken, they are without KL Fleury, TK, Ty Cartier, if I have that correct. Maybe I pronounced that one wrong. And Joshua Mahara is out as well for the Seattle Kraken. Dan Muse is not going to use Kevin Hayes in this game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He is also going to have the team be without Jack St. Ivany, and Jonah Kopp and was also out for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this game. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we come back, first period to third period penalties, first period to third period scoring, game totals on Martin Luther King Day from this game, and the 3 stars of the game. All of that coming up when we return to Penguins postgame. So folks, be sure to stick with us. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
Hey everyone, it's Scott McGregor here. Join me weekly right here on Sports for Beginners for weekly episodes, your weekly dive in around sports news surrounding the Toronto Blue Jays, Pittsburgh Penguins, Toronto Raptors, and more. We'll have guests on a week-to-week basis and so much more. Lots of great conversations coming. Be sure to subscribe to our show so you never miss an episode. And with that, make sure to like our Facebook page, Sports for Beginners Podcast 87. Just type that into your browser, and you should be sure to find our Facebook page. We'll also provide bonus content. It's going to be a dull moment you'll never want to miss. Check out Sports for Beginners with me weekly for daily news around the sports league, surrounding my favorite sports teams and yours, and so much more. Until then, we'll see you at action time.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
Welcome back to Penguins Postgame, Penguins and the Kraken. We are going to get down to business now, breaking down the game by period. It is time for our period-by-period summary. I, of course, am your host, Scott McGregor. Thank you so much to our good friend Thomas McGregor at On the Ice and Behind the Benches for keeping us in tune, and not just keeping us in tune, but keeping us on track to get things rolling, especially for this game. And I especially thank him for allowing us to do the whole period end time so we could know when the period ends and things like that. Anywho, we thank Thomas for his help with our notes for this game. We thank him for the help. Let's get right down to business, shall we? I think we shall. So as we mentioned, the Pittsburgh Penguins have defeated, yes, you heard me, defeated the Seattle Kraken by the final score of 6-3. That is our final score tonight. And here's how it began. We're going to start with our first period penalties. And I have my notes up to walk us through in case we miss anything, even if my notes miss anything as well. So, penalties began at 7 minutes, 7 minutes, 20 seconds, where the Pittsburgh Penguins would go on the penalty kill as Brett Kulak would receive a 2-minute minor for hooking. Penalties actually began at 3 minutes 29 seconds, but I started with the Penguins side of the penalties, and that was a 2-minute minor for hooking to Brett Kulak. Brandon Montour able to draw the penalty on Brett Kulak. Seattle will go to the game's second power play of the evening. Pittsburgh, however, went to the game's first power play of the evening as Penguins captain Sidney Crosby is able to draw a penalty on Ryan Lindgren, 2-minute minor penalty for hooking at 3 minutes 29 seconds into the first period of play. The penalty to Brett Kulak came at 7:20 in the first period. 7 minutes and 20 seconds in the first period. First period scoring began at 5 minutes and 44 seconds as the Pittsburgh Penguins opened the scoring. Parker Wotherspoon opening up the scoring for the Pittsburgh Penguins with his first goal of the game, third of the regular season. Penguins go on top 1-0. Blake Lizotte on the assist, his first of the game, sixth of the regular season. Anthony Mantha picks up his 17th assist of the season and gets the second assist on the Parker Wotherspoon goal, his third goal of the regular season, first goal of the game, coming at 5 minutes 44 seconds. The Penguins would go on the penalty kill, but it was only during that penalty kill that the penalty kill took advantage of a turnover by Seattle. At least I think it was a turnover. I didn't watch the game, so I don't know the full extent of what happened, but we'll see. Anywho, Connor Dewar, who did score twice in this game, scores short-handed to give the Penguins a 2-0 advantage. It would be all by himself. Time of the goal, 7 minutes 50 seconds. The Kraken do score before the end of the period, and it's Ben Myers wearing the number 59 for the Seattle Kraken who will get his 5th goal of the season. Jaden Schwartz, number 17 of the Seattle Kraken, with his 8th assist of the season. Ryan Winterton, his 8th assist of the season as well. And the Kraken score late in the first period to make sure that the Penguins don't go into the first intermission with a 2-0 lead. Instead of 2-0 after one period of play, 2-1 Penguins after 20 minutes of play. Penguins outshot the Kraken 7-6, which would be our total heading into the second period of play, which would begin at 2:43 Pacific, 3:43 Mountain, 4:43 Central, and 5:43 p.m. Eastern was the end time of the first period of play. Second period we go, starting again with our penalty summary. In the penalties for period number 2, Blake Lizotte goes to the box for tripping at 7 minutes and 57 seconds. The Kraken don't score on this power play opportunity, so the Penguins have killed off another penalty. They don't get lucky in the third, however, but we'll get to the third in a moment. Still in the second period, the other penalty came late at 17:02 of the second period, the 17 minutes to second mark of the second period, as Ryan Lindgren, number 55 of the Seattle Kraken, takes his second penalty of the game, going to the box this time for interference. At this point, it would be 3-2 Pittsburgh, but no, Pittsburgh does not score on the power play. Seattle opened the scoring in the second period at 13 minutes and 55 seconds with a goal by the man assessed a penalty moments later. Number 55, Ryan Lindgren, second goal of the season, second assist of the night for Ryan Winterton, his 9th of the season. Ben Myers also picked up an assist on this goal. That is Ben Myers' first assist of the game, and he's got a goal and an assist on the game, his 5th assist of the season. Ties it up 2-2, Seattle and Pittsburgh, but the Penguins go ahead 3-2 as at the 14-minute 45-second mark of the period, Brett Kulak gets his first goal of the season and first goal as a Pittsburgh Penguin. Picking up the assist would be Penguins captain number 87, Sidney Crosby. For Crosby, that is his 28th assist of the season. He feeds Brett Kulak to put Pittsburgh up 3-2 after Seattle tied it a minute 55 seconds before that by Brett Kulak. So our score at the end of 2 periods of play is 3-2 Pittsburgh, outshooting the Kraken for the game after 2 periods of play, 22-14, and they outshot the Kraken 15-8 after 2 periods of play in that second period, which came to a close at 6:37 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 4:37 p.m. Mountain, 3:37 p.m. Pacific. The third period, that is, started at 56 minutes after 11 p.m. in London, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Mountain, and 3 p.m. Pacific, with it also starting 56 minutes after midnight in Sweden and France. And in that period, our penalty summary looks like this. On the Seattle Kraken side of the ice, Brandon Montour going to the box at 10 minutes 21 seconds for a 2-minute minor for slashing. At this time, the Penguins are ahead 4-3. But just before that, Brett Kulak took his second penalty of the game, and this is the penalty where the Penguins give up a goal on the penalty kill as the Kraken score on this man advantage. It was a 2-minute minor for holding on Brett Kulak at 6 minutes and 24 seconds, and L.A. Tolvanen made him pay, getting the Kraken, back within one with his 10th goal of the season. Brandon Montour, before he took his penalty, picked up his 12th assist of the season. Shane Wright, 10th assist of the season, as the Kraken answer on the power play on their third opportunity they get, which they score at 7 minutes 47 seconds. PPG for SEA puts the Kraken back down by 1. However, when they went down by 2, Justin Brazeau was the one who scored for the Pittsburgh Penguins to make it that way. His 14th goal of the season. Anthony Mantha, 18th assist of the season for Anthony Mantha. Second assist of the game for Anthony Mantha. We mentioned Connor Clifton. Well, Clifton didn't score in this game, but he did score an assist, his first of the season, which came as the secondary assist to the goal by Justin Brazeau. Justin Brazeau's 14th goal of the season at 2 minutes and 21 seconds. Penguins are on top 4-2 by this time before the power play goal by L.A. Tolvanen made it 4-3 Penguins. The Pittsburgh Penguins strike twice more in the third period following the 2 penalties, 1-2 aside, which included a goal by number 67, Rickard Rakell, his 8th goal of the season, making it 5-3 Pittsburgh over Seattle. Captain Sidney Crosby picks up his second assist of the evening, number 29 on the season, at 16 minutes 48 seconds. But the Penguins weren't done there. Lane Lambert made the call. He has pulled Joey Decord, and Connor Duard said thank you very much. He picks up his second goal of the evening, putting it in the empty net after a pass from Blake Lizotte for Blake Lizotte's 7th assist of the season, 2nd assist of the evening, and that put a bow on this one between Seattle and Pittsburgh as the Penguins beat the Kraken, and they do so winning it in regulation in front of, as I mentioned off the top, 17,151 fans in attendance at Climate Pledge Arena. The game officially ended at 5:34 p.m. Mountain, 6:34 p.m. Central, 7:34 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:34 a.m. in London, and 1:34 in the morning in France and Sweden. Final shots on goal and total of shots on goal for the game. The Kraken get outshot 10-9 for the third period, ultimately leading to the Penguins beating the Kraken and outshooting the Kraken 32-23. Again, our final score, as we mentioned, Penguins 6, Kraken 1. Time now for a break. When we come back, we'll get to game stats, 3 stars of the game, player of the game, which is our shake of the game, and following another break, we'll dive into some of the earlier finals and ongoing action currently on this Martin Luther King Day across the NHL and across the United States. We'll touch on those games coming up in a break time, as well as touch on how the AHL did today, as far as they had 3 games on in the AHL. One that we will be paying specific attention to is between the Springfield Thunderbirds and the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins. You'll find out the final score of all 3 of those games, plus games from today, in one break time. Still lots more to come on Penguins postgame, so folks, be sure to stick with us. Stats, 3 stars, and the play of the game coming your way when we continue. Stick with us. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Hi, Scott. It's Ali here. I just wanted to mention that I'm really enjoying the show and I'm really enjoying what you're putting together. And I wanted to just say I'm enjoying being a part of it as well. So please keep up the phenomenal work and make sure you guys keep this podcast going because it really suits you well. I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m. and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait! I think I made it! CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
It's the Penguins and the Kraken from Climate Pledge Arena. I'm your host, Scott McGregor. Game breakdown in the books, timeline in the books, play of the game coming up in just a few short moments. Before we dive to our 3 stars of the game, let's give you a close at our totals for this hockey game between the Penguins and the Kraken. Here we go. We're not sharing a screen here, but you know what? That's okay. We don't need to share a screen. I'll try to provide the stats as best as I can over on what we're dealing with. But we have NHL.com up and running. As I mentioned before the break, the Pittsburgh Penguins outshot the Seattle Kraken 32-23 in the shots on goal category. They won 29 of 53 faceoffs, 54%, 54.7%, just about 55% of the faceoffs for Pittsburgh won tonight. They win 29 out of 53. Seattle not too far behind. They only win 24 out of 53 faceoffs, winning 45% of those faceoffs, 45.3%. Seattle strikes on the power play. They go 1 for 3, on the power play. They go a perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, as the Pittsburgh Penguins are unable to score on any of their power play opportunities. So the Penguins go 0 for 3 on the power play. Seattle went 3 for 3 on the penalty kill, 1 for 3 on the power play, which essentially means that the Pittsburgh Penguins killed off 2 of the 3 penalties they took. One time, the Brett Kulak penalty in the first period of play. They also killed off the penalty to Blake Lizotte, but the second time Brett Kulak went to the box, Seattle was not going to allow the Pittsburgh Penguins penalty kill to kill it off again. Speaking of that, we go to penalty minutes now, and the Pittsburgh Penguins and Seattle Kraken each spent 6 minutes in the box, which, when you think about it, would combine for 12 minutes of penalty time for each team. But just 6 minutes was the penalty minutes that we got in total. The Penguins out-hit the Kraken 23-20 in the hits category. They lost the blocked shots category 16-10 to Seattle. Also lost the giveaway battle 17-18, as they had one more giveaway than Seattle did in this game. Seattle finishing with 17 giveaways. Pittsburgh finishing with 18. Meanwhile, the Penguins get the upper hand in the takeaways with 6 takeaways for the game. The Kraken with 3 takeaways in this hockey game. All right, time now for your 3 stars of the game. And from there, we'll move on to our both the play of the game and the 3 stars are brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network, TV network, Seattle Kraken Radio Network and TV network, its respective sponsor. With that being said, here we go with your 3rd star, which went to Penguins forward number 19, Connor Dewar. There we go. I think I got it right that time, Connor. 2 points, 2 goals, no assists. He scored twice but didn't pick up an assist. He would have had a 3-point night if he picked up an assist and the 2 goals he picked up. Another person with a 2-point night, despite picking up a goal, is the 2nd star of the game, Ben Myers, wearing number 59 of the Seattle Kraken. He had a goal and an assist, equivalent for 2 points. And your 1st star might have been number 87 tonight in your program, but tonight he's number 1 in your heart. Didn't score a goal in this game, picked up 2 assists. Your captain of the Pittsburgh Penguins fans, Sidney Crosby, is your 1st star of the game. Sidney Crosby, Ben Myers, and Connor Delwar. There we go. Okay, Connor, if I pronounced the name wrong, I apologize. I truly do. But he scored twice for the Pittsburgh Penguins in this 6-3 win over the Kraken at Climate Pledge Arena on Monday. And those are your 3 stars of the game. Have a difference of opinion? Send an email to sportsforbeginners podcast8231@gmail.com or connect with us on WhatsApp or Discord in our WhatsApp and Discord channels. We could have a Facebook Messenger channel coming soon, but we will see. And you could do that as well for the play of the game, which we're going to get to in just a few minutes, as well as our game puck of the game segment coming up following the shake of the game. And of course, I want to touch on some Wilkes-Barre Scranton action from the AHL. And we're going to take this opportunity to do that right now as we get a look at I know we're not sharing the screen, but we get a look at the contests that went down on Martin Luther King Day across the United States and for anyone else who celebrates. Starting off with the game we're paying the most attention to, Wilkes-Barre versus Springfield. Valtteri Puustinen picks up a goal for Wilkes-Barre as they defeat the Springfield Thunderbirds 3-2 from the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield, Massachusetts. Chase Petelia also picks up a goal, and Gabe Klassen picks up the 3rd period goal for Wilkes-Barre in their 3-2 final victory over the Springfield Thunderbirds in Springfield, Massachusetts. We needed a shootout in Syracuse between the Syracuse Crunch and the Rochester Americans, which Syracuse ended up winning 3-2, getting the game winner in the shootout. And last but certainly not least, the Bridgeport Islanders defeat Lehigh Valley Phantoms, and Bridgeport Islanders converted 4 of 6 of their power play opportunities. Wow. All right, let's flip back over to the NHL and take a look at our early window of finals, beginning in where the Carolina Hurricanes knocked off the Buffalo Sabres 2-1 in Raleigh today. Down in Denver, Colorado, the Avalanche knock off the Washington Capitals 5-2. And over in Florida, it is the Sharks victorious against the Florida Panthers 4-1. Of course, our game is 6-3. But of the other finals besides that, we have 2-1 in favor of the Hurricanes over the Sabres, 5-1 Avalanche over the Capitals, and 4-1 Sharks over the Panthers. Currently ongoing right now in the 2nd period, Minnesota Wild hold a 4-1 lead over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Travis Konechny with the only goal in the Flyers Golden Knights game, that game also in the 2nd period. and Philadelphia ahead. No score first periods between the Devils and the Flames and the Jets and Blackhawks. And coming up later tonight, the Rangers visit the Ducks at 10 p.m. Eastern, coming up shortly. And the Islanders and the Canucks will do battle from Vancouver at 10 p.m. Eastern. That game can also be seen in Canada on Sportsnet Pacific. With that said, that will bring us to our play of the game, and we will take a break after the play of the game to get a breather in before we talk shake of the game and game puck of the game. Immediately following that will be my thoughts on this series between the Kraken and the Penguins in a nutshell, so be sure to stick with me for that. And then, of course, we'll wrap things up after that segment with what's next for Pittsburgh, what's next for Seattle. So make sure you stick with us. All right, the play of the game. I'm going back to the early moments of the third period of play. And I'm going back to the Justin Brazeau goal. It's clear that even though L.A. Tolvanen answered on the power play, it's clear the Penguins did not want to go into a tie again after Brett Kulak brought them out of a tie middle, I should say, of the second period at 14 minutes and 45 seconds. It's clear to me that the Penguins wanted to get a 2-goal lead early third period so that they could be up by 2 instead of up by 1 before the power play goal was scored in the third. So Justin Brazeau's 14th goal of the season, good enough for my play of the game. And after we get out of here, I will be checking out the highlights to see what else has gone on. Want to remind you, for Penguins fans tuning into the recap, Penguins and the Jackets, we will get that to you before this show drops. But of course, by then, this game has gone final tonight. So we will just roll over for the Penguins to who they will be playing following the Kraken game, which we will talk about later in our show. All right, so the play of the game is out of the way, brought to you by on the Penguins radio network and TV network, as well as the Seattle Kraken radio network and TV network, its respective sponsor. When we return to Penguins post-game after this short break, now that we've covered the American Hockey League, the AHL, we'll move forward to the shake of the game puck of the game. I will give you my thoughts on this series, and we'll check back in with the ongoing action on Martin Luther King Day around the NHL. That coming up when we continue, so folks, be sure to stick with us. Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, two powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
We continue on Penguins postgame. Penguins and the Kraken. The Pittsburgh Penguins have defeated, yes, you heard me, defeated the Seattle Kraken 6-3, the final from Climate Pledge Arena. We'll revisit the attendance record a little bit later, but it is about time for us to get down to the player of the game segment we call the shake of the game. And quite a few deserving players for both sides. But before we jump any further, I thought what kind of fun it would be to provide you with my thoughts on this series before we do so. So we're going to start off with my thoughts on this series. I'm kind of glad there wasn't a winner in this series because let's face it, if Seattle wins this game, they win the series. If they also win this game, first of all, they bounce back from a loss, which is good. But the Pittsburgh Penguins were also coming off of a loss. Okay, yeah, it was in a shootout. I get that. But the Seattle Kraken just lost by the same score they lost on Saturday to the Mammoth. This time it was at home. And they've still got they still got 5 games to go in their 6-game homestand. So this game, not exactly the way you want to end it. But I'm pretty sure they'll use that as motivation going into Wednesday night against the Islanders. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, they will play in Canada for the next few days. They will play Calgary, Edmonton, and then Vancouver. But we'll touch on more of that a little bit later. I think this could have worked out either way for either squad, to be honest. I feel like there are a lot of players deserving for our player of the game segment, shake of the game, or even game puck of the game. But I wanted to say that this season series, to me in a nutshell, was going to come down to who had the puck last. And yeah, the Penguins win by 3 goals. Great. I like that. But it very well could have been by 2 goals or by 1 goal. If the Penguins make some mistakes, it could be a 4-3 Penguins win or a 5-3 Penguins win instead of 6-3 Penguins win, or it could have even gone the other way. The Penguins could have had 3 and Seattle could have had the extra 3 goals, making it 6-3 Kraken. But enough about that. It's time to get down to the shake of the game, which is what we call our player of the game segment. And because I still want to take a look at some of the ongoing action in the NHL, we are going to award one player from each side the shake of the game. I will even pick out a star of the night from either squad, and we're going to get to the game puck of the game immediately following our next league check-in around the league, which is still to come. But let's get to this player of the game segment, the shake of the game. Beginning with the victorious Pittsburgh Penguins, I'm going to go with Stuart Skinner. 3 goals given up, 1 on the power play, 2 at even strength. Stuart finishes the game with a save percentage .870 and finishing with 59 minutes and 50 seconds. He made 20 saves on 23 shots. He had a pretty good night in goal for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He gets the shake of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. For the Seattle Kraken, the player that will receive the shake of the game just so happens to have scored a goal in this game and he picked up. He's a -3, it says, but I feel like LA Tovovin had a pretty good game. He picked up 2 shots on goal, same as Jared McCann, former Penguin, but he also picks up 2 hits. And for that reason, especially the power play goal, he is my Seattle Kraken shake of the game recipient. So the Penguins goaltender Stuart Skinner, along with Seattle Kraken forward LA Tovovin, getting the shake of the game tonight for Pittsburgh and Seattle. For Pittsburgh, it went to goaltender Stuart Skinner. For Seattle, it goes to forward and right winger LA Tovovin. We'll get to the game puck of the game momentarily, but first, a quick check-in. Still no score between the Blackhawks and the Jets. They are headed to period number 2 as we speak. No score, Flames and Devils still playing in the first period as we speak. No change yet between Golden Knights and the Flyers. Flyers still hold a 1-0 lead. The Minnesota Wild, however, have gone up 5-1 on Toronto, with Marcus Foligno scoring his 5th goal of the season on the power play. in the final minute of the second period of play to put Minnesota on top of Toronto 5-1. They are headed for period number 3. And in case you missed it earlier, the Avalanche defeated the Capitol, the Hurricanes defeated the Sabres 2-1, and the Sharks beat the Panthers 4-1. And of course, our game, Kraken fall 6-3 to the Pittsburgh Penguins, giving the Penguins a chance to get even in the season series, which they did with the win. And with that said, we are going to take one quick timeout, and when we return in 30 seconds, we will put a bow on this show, setting up the scene for Penguins Flames, as well as for the Kraken Islanders. Both games start at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and we will set that scene up for you, as well as what else is coming up when we return to Penguins postgame, with the game puck of the game also being revealed right after that. So stick with us. Penguins postgame. We'll wrap it up in 30 seconds. After this, from our friends at Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Don't go anywhere. There's more great conversations and content right around the corner. Sports for Beginners will be right back in a moment.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Now, let's take you back to the action. To the rink and field we go. We find Scott McGregor.
It is the Penguins and the Kraken here on Penguins postgame. The Pittsburgh Penguins have defeated, yes, you heard me, defeated the Seattle Kraken by a final score of 6-3. It is just about time for our game puck of the game. But before we get to the game puck of the game, let's go ahead and take a look at what's coming up next for the Pittsburgh Penguins and what's coming up next for the Seattle Kraken. With that said, we'll start off with Seattle. As I mentioned, they are currently on a 6-game homestand. They did not start it off on the right foot, but at least they scored 3 goals. They'll be looking to rebound from the 6-3 loss, both on Saturday and tonight, when they face off against the New York Islanders at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday night, when they welcome in the New York Islanders. They will also play on Friday, January 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Central, as they host the Anaheim Ducks on Friday. Then they've got the Devils coming into town on Sunday, January 2026, for a afternoon matinee at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Central on Sunday. It's an afternoon matinee for the Kraken against the Devils at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, noon Pacific time. Back to night owl action on the East Coast for the Kraken as they welcome in Alex Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals. Puck drops on Tuesday next week, January 27th, 2026 at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. They will also play next Thursday on January 29th 2026 against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drops at 10 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific, p.m. Central. So their next 5 in hosting the Islanders this Wednesday, and this Friday they will host the Anaheim Ducks. On Sunday they host the New Jersey Devils. Next Tuesday and next Thursday they are hosting the Washington Capitals, and then the Toronto Maple Leafs will be in town. And there you go. There are your next 5 for Seattle as they try to wrap up their homestand within these next 5 games. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, 4-game road trip continues with a back-to-back starting on Wednesday night at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 8:30 p.m. Central, 6:30 p.m. Pacific from Calgary as they take on the Calgary Flames. And then the next night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, the Pittsburgh Penguins go from one side of Alberta to the next as they gear up for a showdown with the Edmonton Oilers and Connor McDavid and company, and good friend and former teammate Tristan Jarry. They'll wrap up their 4-game road trip on the road in Vancouver, BC. Puck drops at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific on Sunday from Vancouver, BC. And wrapping up the next 5 for the Pittsburgh Penguins with after 3 off nights on the 20th, 27th, and 28th of January. Next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they will be at home to take on the Chicago Blackhawks at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Pacific, before they host an afternoon matinee with the New York Rangers at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 2:30 p.m. Central on January 31st. So for the Kraken, the Islanders, the Ducks, the Devils, Capitals, and Maple Leafs are up next. As for the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Flames, Oilers, Canucks, Blackhawks, and Rangers are coming up for the Pittsburgh Penguins, coming off of their 6-3 victory over the Seattle Kraken. Let's get to the game puck of the game before we wrap things up here, getting you set for Flames and Penguins this Wednesday on Penguins postgame. Starting off with the Seattle Kraken, and even though we picked the goaltender for the shake of the game for Pittsburgh, we're going to pick the goaltender for the game puck of the game for Seattle, who faced 31 shots, made 26 saves, allowed 4 goals at even strength, and 1 goal when Seattle was on the man advantage. He allowed 1 shorthanded goal, Joey Decord, and in total, he gave up 5 goals, finished the game with a save percentage .839, finishing the game with 58 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock of his total ice time. So Stuart Skinner for the Penguins shake of the game, L.A. Tolvanen for the Seattle Kraken shake of the game, Joey Decord for the Kraken game puck of the game. Who's going to get the game puck of the game for Pittsburgh? Well, the answer is simple. For me, it is, at least. He may not have scored a goal in this game, but he contributed the best that he could. He also didn't get an assist or a goal, as I said, but I thought he had a pretty good night. 4 shots on goal for Evgeny Malkin. Gino is your game puck of the game from the host Scott McGregor of Sports for Beginners, the podcast, and Penguins postgame. Gino is your game puck of the game recipient tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins, with honorable mention going out to Penguins goal scorer, who ended up with the play of the game gift, Justin Brazeau, who scored early in the 3rd period of play to give Pittsburgh a 4-2 lead. Again, L.A. Tolvanen scores on the power play, makes it 4-3, but the Penguins ultimately win this game by 3 goals, with 2 goals off of the stick of Ricard Raquel and Connor Dewar, who scored the empty net goal and his 2nd goal of the game, 7th of the season, after scoring his 10th goal of the season on a short-handed opportunity middle of the 1st period of play. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will just about put a wrap on this show. Thank you guys so very much for joining us. Before we go, The Jets and the Blackhawks have begun the second period of play. The Flames and Devils are in the first intermission, still scoreless in both of those games. Minnesota and Toronto have begun the third period, and it is 5-1 Minnesota over Toronto. Heading to the third period, but not before Thomas Hertl hits Pater on the power play for the Vegas Golden Knights, and we do not have a 1-0 game anymore in Vegas. We now have a tie game going to the third period in Vegas. Thomas Hertl, 20th goal of the season. PPG for VGK ties the game as they head to the third period. They're tied at a goal apiece. All right, folks, next time on Penguins postgame, we are turning back the clock to Saturday to break down the Penguins' 4-3 shootout loss to the Columbus Blue Jackets in their final meeting of 4 meetings between the two Metro Division foes. A lot to unpack on that day. And then on the following edition of Penguins postgame, following that, we will break down ahead of the Oiler game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. We will break down the game from Calgary, getting back on track after turning back the clock to the Columbus game in Pittsburgh. We get back on track after Calgary's game goes final on Thursday, breaking down the game from Wednesday night between the Calgary Flames and the Pittsburgh Penguins. So hope you can join us for the turn back the clock game. The Seattle Kraken came in with a record of 21-17-9. They will go into their matchup against the Islanders with a record 21-18-9. That'll do it for this edition of Penguins Postgame. Join us for the turn back the clock game against the Jackets as we get our first look at Rick Bowness under the helm of the Columbus Blue Jackets as head coach. And of course, after that, we invite you to join us on Thursday to get ready for the Oilers and the Penguins. We invite you to join us ahead of that game for the Pens and the Flames on Penguins postgame. That is it for us for now, though. Thank you so much for being with us. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your night, depending on when you're tuning in to the show. And I look forward to catching up with you again real soon. As Mike Lang always says, I put a little spin on it, but for tonight we'll use Mikey's line, because I do it win or lose. He says this after every Penguins victory, but I'll do it win or lose. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. My spin is, ladies and gentlemen, Justin Brazeau has just left the building. That's it for us, covering Penguins and Kraken hockey against one another. We'll be back with you for our Turn Back the Clock show against the Jackets, and I'll be back with you on Thursday to break down Penguins and Flames. Hope to see you then. But until then, always remember, Penguins fans, let's go Pens. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Sports for Beginners. If you would like to learn more about the show, you can visit the podcast Facebook page or visit the official website. You can also send us an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast8231@gmail.com. As we always remind you, it is not goodbye, it is until next time.